Hi, I'm Sophie from the Holistic Directory, and today I have with me the lovely Kate Davies of Your Fertility Journey. Kate is a fertility coach and practitioner and a qualified nurse with over 20 years experience in gynaecology, women's health and sexual and contraceptive health. Hello, Kate.
Hello, Sophie. Thank you very much for having me and interviewing me today.
It is marvellous to have you here. So essentially you help women and couples, of course, conceive naturally. So I guess my first question is going to be, how did you get started in this and what led you to the point of doing this?
Okay, well, my background is in nursing. I've got, as you said, over 20 years experience as a nurse, and I specialised in gynaecology, in women's health, and then more recently, sexual and contraceptive health. And then I decided that my true interest, I think, was fertility, and it's been something that's been part of my career for the last 20 years, but I wanted to learn more about it. So I decided to train as an advanced fertility practitioner. And I learned then how to teach natural fertility to women, but also to teach natural contraception to women as well. And then I kind of felt quite frustrated because I knew a lot of women that would be going to their GP and want advice on how to get pregnant and were just told, you know what, just go away and keep trying. And I think the frustration for many women at that point is when they want to start conceiving, they want to get pregnant the following month. And with each month that passes, it gets more and more frustrating, more and more depressing, and they kind of start to lose that sense of themselves as they're struggling to conceive. So this is way before really having to go for any IVF. This is just really in the early stages, the first couple of years of trying to conceive. And so I felt that women were being given a bit of a disservice, really. They weren't getting the information that they needed. And so that's where I thought, right, this is what I can do. I can provide this. I've got the knowledge to do this, and it's something that I can do. Now, I'm very lucky in the fact that I do provide this one day a week, one day a fortnight actually now, for the NHS in London. But there's very few NHS practitioners, fertility practitioners available. I think there's probably about, 10, 15 in the whole country. So they're very, very few and far between. So I obviously felt that actually I could reach more women. And so my desire then was to set up in my private practice in natural fertility. And that's really where it originated from. I also often think back to many, many, many years ago when I was quite young, and my sister she's quite a bit older than me. She's 18 years older than me. And she was trying to conceive and did conceive, but then she lost two babies. They were born alive and she lost them. And it just made me at quite a young age just see how special and precious pregnancy is, and how devastating any impact on whether it's not being able to conceive or whether losing a baby has on the woman and the couple. And I just felt that if I had the knowledge that I could actually physically help these women, that's what I wanted to do, because to me, being pregnant is just the most special thing in the world.
Wow. Oh, well, that's fantastic. And I know that you do some great stuff. And as you said, obviously, there's not that much help out there. In fact, I've got a friend that's a lactation specialist, and there's not many of those either. It seems, although it's one of the most common things for women, I mean, women have babies every day. And yet there doesn't seem the support there for them. So it's all a bit bonkers. But so natural conception, I'm sure... your average woman, I mean, I managed to get pregnant at the drop of a hat with my daughter when I was younger, and I guess I never even considered that I wouldn't be able to get pregnant. It just didn't even cross my mind. It was just I would get pregnant, and I mean, I did, but I know lots of women that haven't and have needed help as well. So what is natural conception and what is unnatural conception, if there is such a thing? What is the difference?
Well, I mean, obviously natural conception is the ability to conceive naturally without necessarily needing any intervention, so any medical intervention. How I help women is I teach them to identify and chart their natural fertility indicators. Now, before I specialised in fertility, And actually, having conceived 2 children by this point myself, I knew nothing about natural fertility indicators. So I'm thinking, well, if I don't really know anything about them, there's going to be an awful lot of women that don't know they're out there. So I learned this just most amazing secret that is within our bodies, that Mother Nature has given to us. And this is your basal body temperature, your cervical secretions, and the position of your cervix. All those things change throughout your cycle because they're very hormone dependent. But that information, when put together, can tell you when you're fertile. So it gives women a fighting chance actually to learn when they're most fertile, so that they can kind of target having sex around the most fertile time. But actually, it's still important to have sex regularly throughout the cycle, because you don't want to then be left with old sperm at the time when you're most fertile. So that's really, really crucial. And also, from getting women to observe their fertility indicators and chart them, I'm then able to do some diagnostics by looking at their chart to see whether, for example, their luteal phase, which is the second half of the cycle, which needs to be a certain length to be able to accept a pregnancy, to allow a pregnancy to implant. So if that is of a good amount of length, then that's great. But if the luteal phase is too short, then that could mean that that's why they're having problems conceiving. And there are some things that can be done about increasing your luteal phase. So if a woman has that knowledge, then that's fantastic. She can also the diagnostics that I can do from her chart is to actually confirm the presence or not the presence of ovulation, again, which is something really important. So hopefully with that information that I then have to hand, I can help the lady conceive quicker and naturally. However, if she's still having problems, she's got all this wonderful information that she can then take to her GP or her fertility specialist and say, look, I can prove to you I'm not ovulating, therefore I need to start earlier on Clomid, for example, which will help with ovulation, or my luteal phase is really short, what can we do about that? So there's lots of different things that from the diagnostics that I do with them that they can start to look at themselves and then take to their fertility specialist later. The other thing that I do with my natural fertility patients is I look at their lifestyle. So I'll be looking at stress. Stress is a huge one, and one that is actually, I think, the medical profession is taking more notice of now, with stress with women trying to conceive. So we look at stress, we look at nutrition, diet, we look at what medication they're on, look at weight, exercise, and also look at their partner as well. So are there any aspects of their partner's lifestyle that might be contributing? So we look at alcohol, we might even look at drugs, or lots of different things that could potentially be factors that just small little tweaks are made can actually make a huge difference to their ability to conceive.
Yeah, I saw an article the other day about a video actually about miscarriages in women actually, and that they're now finding that it was on the television, that some sperm can be kind of damaged, and yet you can still get pregnant from it and then miscarry. But often not the blame, but the woman, they look at what the woman has done and their lifestyle, and they don't necessarily take it that it could actually be something wrong from the man's side on that side. So you've got so many different things, haven't you?
Yeah. And with men, for example, often alcohol can really affect a man's quality of his sperm. But if he gives up alcohol or reduces the alcohol down, then actually it can make such a difference in such a short space of time. Same with smoking. If a man is smoking, then that can really disturb the function of the sperm. But if he gives up smoking, after 3 months, his sperm is back to normal. And same with women with smoking, it really affects their ovaries, and it can age called ovarian aging. So it can actually age their ovaries by about 10 years.
Wow.
So if you're wanting to conceive and you're, say, in your 30s and you're having problems and you're a smoker, it could be that you've got eggs the age of a 40-year-old and you're not probably going to conceive as easily.
Yeah, in fact, that's one of my questions. But the first thing which came up when you were talking is we were obviously laughed about the whole the sex thing, and you as soon as you said, oh, then you actually should be having sex regularly, I kind of chuckled, and I thought, well, obviously the guys are going to like that one. Total stereotype there, but we kind of can laugh about that, but actually that can become quite a tricky thing in a relationship as well, can't it? When you get a little bit further down the line and it's not necessarily going to plan, and you kind of become a bit fixated on it. But presumably, you know, you've kind of not necessarily yourself been there, done that, but been there, done that with others, and you've got other people there that can kind of give feedback and support in and help you through all of those sorts of things that you don't even really think about in the early days when you're first thinking about getting pregnant.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think, I suppose that's where my fertility coaching can come in, because the women or the men can really be finding it very difficult to carry on their normal life when they're trying to conceive. And as far as sex is concerned, it becomes baby making sex, and you've lost that spontaneity, that intimacy in the relationship. And obviously that's going to cause major problems, because the only way you're going to get pregnant is to have sex, you know, effectively natural conception. You've got to have sex. But often women feel that, well, I can't get pregnant, so what's the point of having sex? So you kind of lose that part of your relationship and lose the sense of self.
But there is ways of trying to make that better, which obviously you have experience of, and I suppose it's giving them ideas and tips of how they can get through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fertility coaching in itself is a relatively new approach, and it's becoming more and more popular, I think, as women experience the benefits of reducing stress and increasing positivity that has on their ability to conceive, and obviously, therefore, it has that same ability within the partnership as well. But I think one thing that's really important to mention is that coaching, it's not therapy and it's not counselling, whereas counselling tends to look very much back into past issues that have occurred in our past. Coaching is very much more looking at the here and now and having that opportunity to kind of explore the barriers and help you find contentment in your life here and now, which obviously would impact on the general relationship and your relationship with your partner, your relationship with your friends, your relatives. But it also kind of equips you with the tools that you need to deal with the bad times, the rough times, whether that might be the problem with your intimacy in your relationship, and just means that you're able to successfully navigate that fertility journey. And I think what I love about it is that women who have fertility coaching definitely become and achieve a more positive mindset. They totally regain that sense of purpose and hope. And it just supports them along their pathway to, I guess, achieving their ultimate goal and dream.
Yes, which can be quite a lonely one. I was just thinking, with many women, obviously nowadays are leaving it till much later. And you mentioned the 30-year-old wanting a baby and maybe having 40-year-old ovaries and eggs, but I'm guessing it's a growing problem, really. And so, you know, you've got obviously good in one way. There's more clients for fertility coaches that are out there. We may see some more come up as the need grows, but obviously bad in many ways, because women are, you know, I say missing the boat, but it's just that, you know, you kind of presume, as I did when I was younger, that you're just going to have a baby, and then obviously leaving it later, and your body necessarily is not able to as easily. Are you finding that is happening, that it's getting more and more a common problem?
Absolutely. I mean, I see a lot more women, you know, that are leaving it later. In fact, tonight I'm coaching a woman who is unfortunately looking at trying to gain some resolution to the fact that she may not ever be able to have a baby. She's 43, and she's unlikely, or she feels now she's unlikely to conceive, and so she's facing that resolution, which is just really hard. I think what scares me most, actually, is what young women are doing to their bodies now that are going to affect their fertility in the future. For example, there's kind of new research to say that binge drinking, so if you can imagine, you know, the university students binge drinking their way through university, actually is a precursor for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And polycystic ovarian syndrome can mean that you are unable to conceive naturally, and in some circumstances you're unable to conceive at all. So that's just one of the many things that I think our kind of life and the way we are socially now as beings is affecting our fertility in the future, in the long term.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? So we've kind of covered a lot of what fertility coaching kind of involves, because obviously a lot of people won't necessarily know about fertility coaching or even know that it even exists. What sort of women obviously women who want to have a baby, that's kind of said, but even if you were just thinking about having a baby, would you be beneficial in actually coming to speak to someone like you to find out what sort of things you ought to be thinking of in order to make it happen in the first place, or to kind of just get a little bit of feedback as to how they can have a healthy pregnancy and all of that sort of stuff that comes with it? Is it that as well as others? So who would you kind of work with most?
I think for the fertility coaching, not necessarily. It's more than my natural fertility side of my business that is absolutely perfect and right. So even a young woman who just wants to make sure she's looking after her body and doing everything right now for the future, so that kind of fertility preservation, that natural fertility preservation, which really interests me, that if those women are looking for some guidance, then that the natural fertility side of it is perfect for them. And then equally the women that are wanting to conceive or in the first 2 years of natural conception, then that would be the natural fertility side. The fertility coaching is really for women that are having problems conceiving. They might be going through IVF or adoption or surrogacy, or donor, or like I said, finding that resolution. They could be that they're constantly stressed and worried, and they worry how that is impacting on their ability to conceive. They could be struggling to maintain that positive mindset, and they know how important it is to have a positive mindset when you're trying to conceive. They've also probably feeling that they've lost some control of their life and also what's happening to them, because when they're going through medical intervention, they have no control. So it's trying to regain some of that control. But also, I think importantly, feeling as though life's not on hold and that they can enjoy life and not feel guilty about trying to enjoy life while trying to conceive. And you know, going back to the intimacy of the couple, it's coaching women to actually feel as though they're not losing that individuality for themselves, or the intimacy and the loving relationship of a couple that they had even before the baby thing started. And I think my experience with women that I do coach is that they do regain that positivity, and they just feel so much better about their life as a whole. What they find is really fantastic is that I'm able to give them some tools to help them cope with the difficult times. So, for example, if a woman's going through IVF and she's navigating that 2-week wait, so she's had her egg donation or she's had her embryo transfer, and she's got to wait 2 weeks for that positive pregnancy test, well, hopefully that positive pregnancy test, that's a really difficult time. So it's having the tools to actually get through those 2 weeks. It's only a short period of time, but it seems like an age for that woman at that point of time. And then obviously it's then dealing with if the pregnancy test isn't positive, then it's dealing with that negative pregnancy test and how she moves on and makes a decision to try another IVF cycle.
Yeah, but which would obviously, there's just tons there, isn't there? So is there a kind of scale of time? Obviously you've got the pre-pregnancy planning, preservation side, the actual pregnancy conception side. Is there a kind of a cut-off point where it's not really worth them coming to see, or is it basically at any point in their journey that they're thinking about? I mean, is it, you obviously mentioned you've got a lady who's potentially not going to be able to have a baby. Is it also that side of it as well, that the kind of, I don't think I can, I don't know who to speak to type thing?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the resolution. You know, she's coming to the decision that that's not ever going to happen for her, and she needs to find some resolution with that and some peace with that. So yeah, so it's the whole spectrum. It can cover the whole spectrum. And obviously, I know we haven't really talked much about it, but I kind of like to think that I kind of cover almost like a whole of a woman's fertile life, because I'm able to offer them natural contraception as well, so they can learn how to chart their natural fertility indicators.
Yeah, that's my next question. I was going to say, you obviously cover helping people not getting pregnant as well. And I would imagine that's probably quite a growing market as well, because you've got the two sides, haven't you? You've got the women who are actually holding off to have their babies and then potentially having trouble having them. But you've also got the fact that women do want to hold off, or women want to have that control, or they've had a baby and then they want to not have one
Yeah,
for a little while afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, we're all becoming, we're very, not all of us, but many women are very conscious of their health and wellness, and the fact that we are bombarded with chemicals on every level. And, there are now loads of different options with the pill and the injections and patches and all sorts of stuff, probably things that I actually don't even know. It's been a while since I've had that conversation with the doctor. But and having a natural, so what does a natural approach to contraception actually cover? Because you kind of have thoughts of things that your mother told you about from the church when you were younger, and I'm guessing it's going to be far better than that.
Well, in many ways it's very similar to the natural fertility side of it, the science part of it, because it's all about your basal body temperature and your spical secretions and your position of your cervix. Again, like I said before, all change throughout your cycle. So it's all about very careful observation and charting, which then with a few kind of rules and guidelines, which are very, very strict actually, you put in place, means that you can identify when you're fertile, so you avoid that fertile time. And there's lots of other things that you add in. It's a lot more complex than the natural fertility side of it. But how effective do you think it is, Sophie?
I don't know. It's a scary thing, isn't it? As a mother, you'd be like, whoa, be safe. So I'd have no idea. I wouldn't even like to guess.
Okay, well, this is going to surprise you, but if it's taught and used correctly, it's up to 99% effective. So it's actually more effective than the combined pill. So the combined pill is 98% effective. And natural fertility, natural contraception, if taught and used correctly, is up to 99% effective. So it is incredibly effective, and that always surprises people. In my NHS role, I teach medical students about natural fertility, and I always ask them that question that I've just asked you, how effective? And they always go, 74%, 68%, something like that. And then I tell them it's 99%. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So it's an excellent method of contraception. It does take a lot of teaching, and it does take a lot of commitment from the woman, but not only from the woman, absolutely from the couple as well. And it does take a little bit of time to learn it, but once you've learned it, you have got a method of contraception for life that you can then almost turn around and use in reverse to conceive your children if you want to conceive children in the future. And then, as you absolutely rightly said, Sophie, once you've finished conceiving children, you can then go back to using your natural method of contraception so that you can breastfeed, for example, without there being any concerns about hormones going into the baby or any other issues. You can use that method of contraception totally confidently, and then when you want another baby, just flip it around again and use it another way. So I love it. I think it's the best thing ever.
No, it sounds great. I mean, so I don't know anything about it really, and as you have that, there's so many hormonal things that you don't really think about with the pill. I mean, obviously it has benefits in other areas for women who have got issues with heavy periods and all of that sort of stuff. I mean, is there things with natural conception that helps with stuff like that? It's obviously that's more medical intervention, but I mean, some women do go on. It's kind of a mixture, isn't it? You have the contraceptive benefit, but you also maybe have lighter periods. Is there something hormonal that you can change, or with diet or anything like that can affect that?
Well, as in what you could, that using natural contraception would be more beneficial for hormones, do you mean? Sorry, I'm not.
Well, I mean, with the contraception side, some women have the pill and things like that for more than just the contraceptive side, in the sense that it helps them with with heavy periods or things like that. Is there some element of that in it, or is it literally just the contraception side?
It is the contraception side, but I think what you're getting or not getting, as you alluded to, is the fact that it's totally natural and you're not putting any hormones into your body. So you've got the most natural method of contraception that is free. It's easily available because it's there right in front of you. It's your body, and it's so effective. And I think if women do suffer from things like PMT, for example, or any other hormonal issues, getting to know their cycle and tracking their cycle gives them so much information that then they can take that to their medical practitioner and say, look, this is just, I can show you where I'm experiencing PMT, or, you know, whatever it might be. So I think women feel generally more empowered to have that knowledge.
And do you have, you obviously help them from a nutrition perspective as well with that, because hormone imbalance can sometimes be affected by food and things, can't they?
Absolutely, yeah. So all of those discussions are had, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do the whole thing.
It's a holistic approach to fertility and contraception. Which is what we like.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So obviously there are a few different things that you offer. If people are listening to this and thinking, yes, I really need to speak to you, I know that you have a freebie for women that want to just have a little bit of a dip in and taster and see kind of a little bit more about you and maybe get some tips before they take any further steps forward. And that's your 50 tips to boost your fertility, which you can get on your website, which is yourfertilityjourney.com. And you mentioned that you also have a couple of other things which you might like to just say a little bit about, which is your fertility support group on Facebook and your 30-day program as well.
Yes, the fertility support group, it's a closed group on Facebook, so that only the members within the Facebook group can see any of the posts. So it's basically a woman's opportunity to come in to meet like-minded women that are going through the same issues, for support, for advice, for virtual hugs, to go in and have a rant. And these women that I've got in my group are just phenomenal. If anyone posts a problem, if there's someone's concerned about anything or wants to know something, maybe wants to know about a particular IVF procedure, or wants to know, has anyone experienced this, how was it for them, or says, oh, I'm waiting on my 2-week wait, how can I get, support me ladies, what can I do, how can you stop me doing that pregnancy test early when I know I shouldn't, and all these things. Or unfortunately one woman last week miscarried, and so everyone was just in there supporting her and giving her all the kind of virtual hugs that she could possibly want to help her. And I think they're just an awesome group of women, and I love it. And I go in and frequently respond to any posts if there's asking for kind of more medical side advice. Obviously, if there's anything too medical, then I'm going to refer them obviously back to their GP or to their specialist, because that's absolutely right to do that. But it's just a great place for support, advice, and like I said, the virtual hugs really. And that can be really found easily on Facebook just by putting in, it's called Your Fertility Support Group. So a bit like Your Fertility Journey, Your Fertility Support Group. But also there's a link on my website to that as well. And then you mentioned my club. That's my Planning for Pregnancy Club, and I'm launching a new program which is 30 days to boost your fertility. And it's over 4 weeks. You'll get a webinar every week, and lots and lots of resources. And it's all about, first webinar is all about your fertility indicators, so how to identify them. It's just fantastic for a woman who's wanting to start conceiving and needing some help and guidance. The second one is all about charting, so knowing how to chart your fertility. Loads of resources that I'm giving out, like the charts and various bits and pieces that go with it. And then the third one is all about lifestyle matters, so basically everything that I would talk to a woman in her initial consultation about. And then the fourth one is fertility coaching, so I'm giving some fertility coaching tips and hints, things to help them get through particular days that are particularly bad, or if they're not conceiving, what they can do to keep boost their positivity and lower the stress levels. So that's going to be launched hopefully beginning of September, and it's going to cost $47.99 for that 30-day program.
Wow, great value.
It is fantastic value because just one consultation with me plus the fertility coaching, they're getting huge amount of value with that. So yeah, really good value.
Super. So there's plenty for ladies to tap into there. If they're obviously in need of a little bit of advice, support, or they want to take that step forward and get more in-depth help as well with getting it all sorted. So as we said, it's yourfertilityjourney.com, and this has been Sophie Jewry from the Holistic Directory and Kate Davies of Your Fertility Journey, and it's been lovely to speak to you, Kate, and hopefully we'll have another catch up at another time soon.
Lovely. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.